This is Travis Wayne Goodsell. For those of you who have been following my YouTube videos that I'm now transferring over to my website because I get more attention on my website, except for yesterday for some reason. I guess everybody was distracted with Assange getting arrested. You would know then that I've been battling with the state of Utah and most recently the West Valley City Police. Yesterday, the West Valley City Police again threatened me. Yes, again threatened me. Now, how did they do that this time? They were all pleasant and nice, trying to make amends, trying to explain to me the law. Police are of the executive branch. They are not of the judicial branch. They're not even of the legislative branch. And as a result, they are to enforce the law. What is the law? Well, they claim the state of Utah's Constitution. And therefore, if there is no code in the Utah Constitution, therefore they cannot execute an arrest and prosecution or referral to the judiciary for prosecution. That's their position. And I had to point out to them again, the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. All states, all cities must conform to the Constitution. Crimes are defined in the Constitution of those of us citizens whose rights are violated of life, liberty, and property. Those constitute crimes. We don't need codes in state law to define what it means to be violated of your right to life. That should be obvious. Right to liberty, that should be obvious. Right to violations of property, and that also is obvious. If something is yours that you bought through legal means, you didn't steal the money to buy the item, or you didn't steal the item outright, it's yours. You own it. But apparently this is too complicated for the West Valley City Police to comprehend and appreciate. Utah would understand that, especially long story. On Tuesday, this past Tuesday, it's now Friday, April 12th, the state of Utah, Governor Herbert, signed into law SB 103, and it's a hate crimes law to protect victims of crime. I've already done the video to show how making a list of those groups that are to be protected limits other groups that are not included in this, and it also paves the way for future groups to be created so that they can claim victim status according to discrimination. See, again, we're straying from the Constitution with SB 103. Constitution, if your rights of life, liberty, property are violated, you have the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances, which means the state is to prosecute your case. Just like if you're the defendant, a defense attorney is assigned to you if you cannot afford one yourself. And this is not complicated law. But apparently, because of political bias interpretation, it has become corrupt. It has become complicated. And as a result, the officers yesterday told me that human trafficking is not a crime because there's no code for it. Therefore, it's a civil matter, and I am solely responsible for taking the matter to the courts as a civil lawsuit, not a crime. Human trafficking is not a crime in Utah. Stealing children from fathers is not a crime in Utah. That was the original case that started it all. That's why we're here now. And so I would like to go over SB 103 for everyone to go viral with. Now I know that my video is probably not going to be as popular as Nurse Wubbles. If you're not familiar with Nurse Wubbles, it was the Utah nurse at the University of Utah Hospital who was arrested by the Salt Lake City police officer because she followed the constitutional rights of the patient and not giving over a blood sample to the officer because he was unconscious. You don't get blood from an unconscious person. And the officers decided to go against the laws and the rules and arrest this nurse. And it took 3 months for the video to be released. And once it went released, those of us helped make it go national. And so I'm not expecting that kind of a response. It would be great. But the only way I'm able to get a lot of views is if the Russians help me. And they don't like helping me. They conceded for 1 day on Saturday to my request to them to give me views. And they complied on Saturday and Saturday only. But they didn't like it because they made sure to put a lot of thumbs down along with the views. Yeah, Russia was not a willing participant in assisting me. And so with YouTube shadow banning me, I go to my website, which will have to transfer the YouTube video over because we're now over 5 minutes. YouTube struggles to, or my website struggles to upload videos longer than a certain file size, and if it's over a certain file size, they can't do it. So yay. Age. How can they identify if I'm being discriminated for my age? Because that can be considered. You know, I'm an older man than they were, so are they discriminating me as some kooky old man who doesn't know what he's talking about? The next one is ancestry. I'm a white guy, but I've revealed on my videos and website and other places that my third great grandmother on my mom's dad's side of the family was a black slave. And so even though she's like 1/64th in me, which is not enough to call me black, I have ancestors from everywhere. All of you are my human family, my extended family. And there are certain people who would like to emphasize one ancestry line over other ancestry lines. And so that could also apply if the officers have been viewing these videos that I've been making. Disability. If you've watched my videos, you know that that definitely applies. I'm in a situation that's weird because I'm trying to claim that I was wrongfully diagnosed using a banned diagnosis. And yet the officers don't see that as a crime, because where in the statute of Utah does it say for a criminal code, when a psychiatrist makes a misdiagnosis of a banned diagnosis, therefore the psychiatrist will therefore be punished in a court of law as a, I don't know, class A misdemeanor and be punished to a sentence to a term of jail and fine, and yeah, you're not going to have that. You can't do those kinds of codes. That's absurd. And so, yes, disability definitely applies as a hate crime against me by the West Valley City Police and the state of Utah. Ethnicity, again, that's similar to ancestry. And then family status, again, they're sort of rewording it. And so that's, you know, yeah, if you understand what I'm going to be getting to at K, you'll understand where all this is coming from. F, gender identity. And so the LDS Church had to back down and again allow homosexuals to be a part of the church, and to allow children of gay parents to be a part of the church. And that's why that happened. Homelessness is G. So if a person's homeless, they can now sue the government for being homeless. I don't think Utah understands the can of worms they opened up with this lawsuit. Because homeless people can now say, hey, I'm getting less than minimum wage in welfare. That's a hate crime. And technically it is, because people are being denied property. You know, they don't have a job. They're homeless. They need assistance to get back on their feet because of the economic system, which the government is not controlling. And so, yes, there's a hate crime involved here, but not necessarily with me, because I sort of have a home. That's what the problem's about. Because the mental care people are acting as if I'm their prisoner at the state hospital, for example, and that they then can impact my life, insert themselves into my life. And I'm saying, no, you can't. I am not your prisoner. I am free. You have to stay away from me. And that's the debate. And of course, that's not covered in Utah code, so the West Valley City Police refused to acknowledge it as a crime committed against me, which would consist of kidnapping, human trafficking, and being held hostage, among many others. And so marital status is H. Yes, I was attacked regarding my marital status. If you don't know, if both parties are mentally ill, they get married, guess what happens by the government? You get screwed over on your finances. You get just barely a little bit more than if both of you had independent money shared together. They screw you if you dare to get married under SSI or SSDI even. Yep, so there's a hate crime going on there. And yes, it does involve me as well. Karen, my second wife, we were victims of hate crime, and that's why she left, is because of all the pressure put on her to leave. We were discriminated against by hate. And matriculation, going to have to Google this to make sure. Matriculation. I get the right definition. The act of matriculating. Come on, guys. Matriculating. How can you define something by using the same word to define it? Okay. Be enrolled at a college or university. Google. It's bad enough that you don't translate well, but you're not defining well either. So discriminated against college enrollment. BYU, you're going to be busted on this one. You're a private school, but Utah law says you can't hate in your selection of students. And so yes, they do token acceptances, thus eliminating those who are qualified for acceptance. And this is a Democrat policy, which strangely enough is being used by a Republican-dominated private school religion. So this is interesting, but yeah, there's going to be problems that can be used on this one as well. It doesn't apply to me though. National origin, again with the family crap. You know, Utah is all big on family. That's why they've got all these family definition words in here. And so, yes, the origin of my situation had to do with family separation. Utah's been doing family separation long before Trump and Stephen Miller. But here's, let's see, then race, religion, sex, sexual orientation, service in the armed forces, and service in emergency, and law enforcement, blah, blah, blah. Peace officer, and they go victim of criminal offense because of this. So, yeah. But this is, you know, so religion also applies, believe it or not. The LDS Church is involved in all of this. They were the ones that ordered Mark Shurtleff, former Utah Attorney General, and the one who got away with his corruption accusations and is now a millionaire. This is where the church violated my religious rights, which was the same as their religion, which is interesting. A religion violating the rights of a follower of the religion. It's a weird concept to grasp, that a person can be discriminated based on their religion when their religion that's discriminating them is their religion. But to simplify it for you, I discovered Paleo-Hebrew. I discovered the origins of our alphabet, our language. I then was able to identify and decipher the petroglyphs of Egyptian, that they needed to be translated as well, and that they're not included in any sign list and any translation grammar and vocabulary. And then when I made the translation identification of the petroglyphs of Egyptian, I then recognized, hey, that's a biblical story. Hey, that's also a biblical story, but it's from the same Egyptian petroglyph. Oh! Thus I discovered that the Bible stories originate from the Egyptian religion, whether the petroglyphs or the other textual matters that are discussed surrounding the petroglyphs. And so, yes, the LDS Church is trying to keep me silent about my translation discoveries. Why? If you're unfamiliar with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they believe they come as a successor to Joseph Smith. They emphasize that all over conference. Joseph Smith was big on translation. The LDS Church today, in their gospel topic essays, have had a article called Translation and Historicity of the Book of Abraham, in which John Gee tells everybody that the official position of the church is that Joseph Smith was not a translator. And so Mormons have been fleeing the church, upwards of 13 million, just saying, screw religion then. I want no part of it. If Joseph Smith can't be a translator of ancient documents, then the church ain't true. And so here I come saying, hey, translation, I've been able to do it. Since Brigham Young, nobody else has been able to translate anything. There's been no translations. They don't even translate the King James Version, which every other religion has translated. That's how poor they are at being able to make a translation of any ancient document. And so here I come along saying, hey, do you have anything more on Joseph Smith translations? Because I've got a decipherment of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet here. And I find out in 2008, over 10 years later, that the church had put me in their troublemaker file for giving them my Paleo-Hebrew decipherment discovery. And that's why they wanted me silenced and removed from society, of which Mark Shurtleff complied and had me removed for 6 years of my life without a trial. But according to West Valley City Police and the Utah Attorney General, crime is not a crime. There was no crime committed against me. And so, political expression. Okay. This is where people discriminate and violate the rights of others based on political expression. If Utah is dominantly Republican, and the laws, therefore, are based upon the political expression of Republican Party values, guess what West Valley City has done to me? They are now discriminating against me because my political expression is not Republican platform values. I am coming to them with the Constitution, saying my rights have been violated. The Constitution is my code, not the Utah law, which is politically biased for the Republican viewpoint and interpretation, in violation of the Constitution. So guess what the Republican Party has done to the police officers here in Utah? The West Valley City Police discriminated against me by not taking my complaint to the justice system because of their political bias. See, this was a can of worms that Utah opened up with this SB 103. And so, yes, I'm a victim of hate crimes by government, all branches here in Utah, for multiple. And so, yeah, sorry, Utah, you've just sealed your coffin. You've dug the final pit for your coffin to lie in. And yet, what's going to be done? They'll just say, we don't care. You know, crime is not a crime. No, you're interpreting it wrong. We're dominant, and therefore majority rules, democracy. This is the whole point of the hate crimes bill, is that those in the minority can be protected. But Utah will not act on this. I will continually get persecuted. I will be continually treated as a prisoner as a kidnap victim being held hostage. And my threats will be made to my life, my liberty, and my property as a result of the West Valley City Police not acting to protect and serve me, the people. Protecting their own officers, protecting the state of Utah over the people. So, yeah, like I said, this isn't going to be as national as Nurse Wubble's video or other videos of cop shootings of innocent, unarmed people. But yeah, I don't know, should I put a cute puppy or kitten? I saw TYT was doing an article about how our government is torturing and murdering little kittens for experimentation. So that was sad. But this is the state of our nation. This is the state of our state here in Utah. It's alt-right Republican, and therefore they violate the Constitution according to their alt-right Republican values. And that was just made a crime in the state of Utah with SB 103. And I don't think they realized that that was what they did. But I am going to make sure that it gets impressed upon them over and over and over again as I continually press for my First Amendment right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. But again, that's a crime, isn't it? Constitutional rights are crimes under the political expression of the Republican Party platform, specifically the alt-right Republican Party platform, which is Utah. So there you go. And like I said, I'll keep you updated because this ain't over.